A couple minutes around to the facilities.
Yeah, you got 5 minutes. Right.
Now, is it the camera maybe that's
Here you're already.
okay?
That's good, but I need to mute myself.
Start video?
Well,
No.
not yet, but
Okay.
I should be muted. I want to make sure everyone's muted here. That's okay. There we go. Manage participants. That's what I want. Is mute all. Okay. Now we should.
Okay, so I see there's an X right here.
I just have to turn this.
No, okay. Ah, it's got the camera off.
Oh, okay. Well, I think, yeah, that.
But it doesn't seem to. Can you turn the camera on for me?
Should be
'Cause
able to.
You're on, but muted.
Right.
But I can't even get in there to do that. You try and see if you can get in there and do it.
Okay, so. Yeah, maybe it is that.
There we go.
There,
There we go.
Right. You were right. Good. We'll
There we
muddle
go.
through.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
So that's great. Yeah. So
We're good.
5 minutes to go.
Okay. So yeah, I wasn't sure where everybody's level of expertise in Excel was. So I started with some really basic stuff in my outline about formatting. I mean, there might be some stuff that might be really basic to you, but there's also some tips and tricks that might be helpful.
Great.
That we can start with, and then we'll go through the stuff that's probably what you're going to use more day-to-day stuff. And as we all know, in the arts world, we do as much as possible with as little as possible. So we don't have a lot of software programs, but we usually have Excel, and it can provide lots of solutions for you.
How's it going?
Hi.
Good. Hi, Jeff. Hello.
Hi, Jeff. Hi.
Do you work here?
I don't see our 3 online
You do.
people
Well,
yet.
I kind of.
I see an LR2.
Yeah,
Is that us?
I don't know.
I just said hi to Christy, and I know she was going to die.
Yeah, Christy's already.
I work with her all the time. Really? I know how to do 2 things, probably. Maybe 4.
How was your weekend?
Oh, it was great. Did you get your cottage
Even
out?
Rick said, yeah, let's go. And then by the time we had, oh my gosh, we had so much to do.
And then it rained all Sunday, so we had a tree on our
So you're
like
on
break
the
lap the weekend before.
Yep.
When we got down the weekend before,
Yep.
all of our power was up. And there's trees on our roof, on our new, like our cabin that we built. If it was on the old cabin, I would have just.
We have 1 minute.
But anyways, he had to take this tree off the roof and patch the roof. It was a big job. And then we
C. Fisher and LR2.
Okay.
Okay.
And our neighbors, he did our neighbors too, because she doesn't
Okay.
come down. And then on
Jody's
Sunday,
right here.
Mhm.
Jody's online. Jan's here.
and Sunday was raining.
Yeah.
So we did it all, and then packed up the cottage. Plus I hadn't seen my parents.
So online
Kind
is
of ditch out.
really
Yeah. Well,
Anyway.
it'll be that weekend probably every year.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
She comes
Yeah,
sometime.
normally we stay till October. Like normally we wouldn't be doing this until really long. like
Okay.
next weekend, but I'm going to Toronto. We're going for 3 days and then I'm going to Nashville for 3 days. Yeah.
Oh, it'll be great.
She's not a baby anymore.
Mhm.
She's like a real child.
Well, if you come to Vancouver, my brother's having his first baby.
Oh, really?
Oh, I'm so excited. I feel like, yeah. I feel like I'm becoming a grandparent. I'm just becoming a aunt.
Is there an Outlook account on this machine? Because one of the things we have is export Outlook contacts to Excel.
As you get,
there should be.
my grandmother just.
I don't know if we want to get into it
Didn't
though,
know where.
right?
No. If you can figure it out.
I mean, it mattered when I was.
Well, I just wonder if there's anything that's going to come up in the email that shouldn't be shared with everybody, right? Because if I open Outlook, it's going to first go to email, but I can just do it to contacts. Let me just see. Okay. Okay, so
Do we
my,
need to be connected to the internet? Or? Do we need to be connected
Oh,
to?
there's the
Oh.
Wi-Fi password is right here.
Great.
Okay, and
I'm gonna.
whoa.
so you'll have to introduce because I
Yeah, we don't have it.
can't unmute myself. on this. So
Oh,
you
okay.
wanna Just give me the.
What would you like? Okay, you do that.
Okay, thank you. Well, hello, everyone. This is Carol from Creative Manitoba. Welcome to our seminar/live webinar for Excel Basics for Arts Administrators with Norine Harty. Norine is a very well-experienced arts administrator, and she's currently the Executive Director of the Manitoba Conservatory of Music and Arts. So we thank her for preparing this seminar, which is being recorded for future reference. If you're online, you can chat in the chat box. Any questions that way, we'll get them and answer them. And we are prepared to go right till 1 o'clock, and you can ask questions anytime throughout. And I'll hand it over to Norine.
Thank you. Let's get this mic situated. Welcome, everyone. I'm really excited. I'm like, they call me the Excel queen because I love Excel, and I use it all the time for lots of different applications. So we're going to talk about those today. In the arts world, nonprofit, charitable organization world, we are always doing as much as we can with as little as we can. So we don't always have the software programs that they do in the private sector, but we can make do, and we do that very well. So I'm going to show you a lot of different applications today. I've started with basics, and you know, a lot of this stuff is very basic, but I'm going to show you some other tools and tricks that you might not know about Excel. So we'll do those kind of things. We're going to talk about contact lists. We're going to talk about creating forms, different forms for financial, for HR, for fundraising, those kind of things. And I'll show you some little tools that you can use for that. There's also something that I'm going to briefly talk about, and if you want more information on it, I'm happy to give it to you. I've given you my contact information, and it's called Google Forms. And if you've never used them before, you should. Google Form is a free software application, and what it does is you can create a form. You can create a registration form, you can create a evaluation form, pretty much survey, anything that you want to get feedback on, and Google will populate all the responses for you in a spreadsheet. So then you can use that spreadsheet as a contact list for further mailings for someone to add to your database, whatever you can. So it's really a great little tool, and I find it really beneficial. We do a lot of courses, so we send out this evaluation. We can make up the evaluations, very easily tweak them for each course, and then set it up as a link so you can just have your participants link that back, already populates it, you have all the information that you need later. So it's a real excellent tool. We're going to talk about charts and graphs for those of you who do grant reports, and we're always trying to visually show what we do. Sometimes numbers don't always give as much impact as a graph would, a chart or a graph. So we're going to talk a little bit about those kind of things. I didn't spend a lot of time on formulas and mathematical stuff. I think, Carol, you said that there could be more, instruction on that if you wanted. There could be, but I wanted to give you an overview for the things that you do every day. So we're going to talk about, first of all, if I can find my Excel sheet, which is right here. We're going to talk a little bit about the toolbar and formatting. So I did a basic list that I thought I would start for music appreciation course contact list. So I've just typed in what I want to have on this list. So on the toolbar, you'll see this is version 2016, but your versions will be very close. You'll see file, and that is, of course, where you can open a new file, where you can download a new template. And this is where you save as if you're updating a current file, share and export, publish to the web, or print. Insert, we have home, and this is where you spend most of your time, because this shows you if you want to cut, copy, and paste. Also shows you the font that you're using, if you want to bold, italicize, underline, fill color, which you may want to highlight something in your sheet. If you're wanting something in a different color, that's where you do in your fonts. And it also shows you there's always a drop down. They populate it with the buttons that they feel people use the most, but there's always more information in the drop down. Sometimes you might want to show someone that you've updated the form. So perhaps you say you want to strike through that. So you can hit strike through there, and it shows that, okay, I've updated that and crossed that out.
So which drop-down form are you in?
Okay, so under font.
Oh, under font.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, under font. And then there's an effects, which is strike through. Superscript, higher if you were going to put a degree sign there, or subscript if you wanted something to be low, be below. It also tells you in the format, which is also in the format cells, I'm going to get out of here, in the next alignment, this is where you can say, okay, I want everything in this column left aligned, I want it centered, I want it right aligned. Also on top, you can see, okay, I want it to be at the top of this cell. I want it to be in the middle of the cell. So each little box is called a cell, and I want it to be at the bottom of the box. Also, these with the arrows are decreasing the indent. Sometimes you may have something that you want to indent. So if I had my first name here, and let's say that I had a name, this is my formal name, but I actually have another name that that I go by. So you could do something like that, and you could say, okay, I'm going to indent this so that we know that it's, something that is set out from the rest. Wrap text tells you that, okay, even though my column D looks like the title is going over, you can see I can't really see all of it. Well, I don't want to make the column any larger, but I do want to see my entire title. So I'm going to wrap the text, and that means wrap it to the next line. Merge and center is something that is very handy, especially when you're doing reports or you're doing any kind of a table that you want to have the title on your sheet. And what you can say is, okay, I have all these columns across here. What I'd like to do is have the title centered across all of those columns. So I take, my title is in A, cell A, 1A. So I'm going to drag over, all the way over to 1K, keeping all of them highlighted. And I'm going to say, okay, merge and center, which means merge this into one cell and center it. So I just hit it and it merge and center. In the next category, and then there's other alignment things that are things that you may use but not often. Shrink to fit is also one that you can use if you wanted to. We wrap the text on this one. Let's say we wanted just to make it smaller to fit inside that text. We could take our alignment, go to, you have to unclick the wrap text and then go to shrink to fit, and then it makes it small so that it would fit there.
Where is that one?
That one is in the alignment.
Same drop.
Okay. Okay. So some of the things, one of the things you can also do, which should work in your versions, is if you're on the cell and you right click, and then you'll get a menu that comes up, and then in format cells, all these things that we've talked about are in format cells. It shows you number, alignment, font, border, fill protection. Yeah, so that's a bit of a shortcut that you can use there.
Okay, hang on. Just right click. Just right go into
When you're in a cell, right click on the cell.
Yeah, you have to do two things. Oh, and we don't even know how to write.
That's
These
okay.
maps.
These maps with the trackpad.
Right.
Oh,
okay.
right.
Yeah.
I just figured.
Okay. Thank you.
In the next tab, which is number, which we can also find in that right-click drop-down under Format Cells, you can tell, I want this to be a number, I want it to be text, and it will format everything according to that. So in our little strike through that we had here, I'm going to put another number in there. And, well, we're going to show a little bit. Okay, so it says that it's general, which means I don't know yet what you want this to be, if you want it to be. So we're assuming that it's text. I say, okay, I want it to be money. So either there's a quick accounting number format, which is the $, which you can press, and it makes it into currency, or we could go to the number and say, okay, I want it to be accounting number, and I want it to have 2 decimal places. A lot of times if you're doing a budget for a grant app, you don't want 2 decimal places. So right now it's telling me I want 2 decimal places. I can just say, I don't want 2, I want 0 decimal places, and then it'll do that. So there's a couple of ways to format, and one is to format each and every cell. But if you know for sure that you want everything in the column or everything in the row to look the same, you can format that way. So what you do in that case is, if I want everything in column J that I have here to be $, to be money, I can go right to the top on the J. That's where you go, and you see that my entire column is highlighted. Right click to format the cell or use the number drop down. And I'm going to say, okay, I want it to be currency. So every time I type something in this cell, it's going to show up as a dollar value. Now, it's showing those 2 decimal places. If I say, okay, I don't want those 2 decimal places, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to highlight J. I'm going to ask for 2 decimal places, which we did under Format Cells and Number. We said, okay, we want, currency. We want 0 decimal places. Another thing that you can do, which is a quick menu item, is under this number here, there is a arrow going left that says increase the number of decimal points that you have. So you just hit it once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, however many decimal places that you want. If you want it to decrease, then you just do the same thing that way. Let's say that we wanted to find out what percentage that each person is paying towards the total, which is something that you want to do. So we'd first find the total here, which is finding the sum. And then we could do a percentage column. Whoops, let's spell this right. And we could say, okay, I want to know how much Chloe is paying towards the total. So that's equals this amount divided by the total amount. And it gave me a number in decimal, but I don't want that in decimal. I want it in a percentage. So I'm going to highlight probably the whole column because I want it all to be a percentage. There's a shortcut up here that says percentage, or we could do the right click, format cells, under number, and click percentage. And it's automatically done that for you. Some of the other things that you might want to do is you've decided that you want everything in this spreadsheet to be a larger font. It's given you a default font of 11, but we want to change it to another font, and we want the whole thing changed. And I want to go through and change every single column. If you go right up here in any version of Excel, which is above the one to the left of the A, it highlights the entire sheet for you. So you can change the font to a different font. You can change the size of the font. You could also make it all italic if you wanted. You could make it all bold, which it seems like it's already bold already. So that is if you want to do that. If you want to make everything equal, every column equal, or every row the same height, you can go across the top and just move your rows. So if you see how this all of a sudden turned from an arrow going down to an arrow with a line and then in between, that means, okay, you want to move, you want to resize. So if I resize one, it resized the whole thing.
Because you highlighted it all.
Because I highlighted all the columns. We can do the same thing in the rows and say, I want these rows bigger. So you can go in any row and just go like that, and it's done all the rows. You can also do this with a right click if you want to say, okay, under this drop-down menu, row height, it says, okay, so it looked like I made it a little big. I don't think I want this as big. So right now it's showing me that the row height is 48. I say, okay, that's a little too big. I want to make the row height 30. So you can go like this, and then you don't have to guess back and forth. You can just put in a number. Okay, borders and shading, which is something that you may want to do in what do I have here? Let's do.
Doing the whole thing. Yeah.
Okay. So sometimes if you get a spreadsheet like this one, which is a list of names, it's really hard to see which one is which. So you want to, especially if you're going to print it out, you may want to do some different borders. You may want to do some highlighting, shading of the cells. And what we'll do here is right now you see that there is a line on each and every row and column. So we're going to go back to the original one that I had, and we're going to figure out what we want to do here. So this is our title. I want the title to stand out. So what I'm going to do is add a border to the title, and I'm also going to shade it so it's a different color. So you're on the cell that you want to format. You're going to go to the font menu or this menu up on the top here. Sorry, your format menu or this menu here. So we'll go to format because I think all of you have format. And go to format cells. And then across there, you see that the tabs say number, alignment, font, border, fill, protection. So I'm going to make a border. And it says, okay, here are your styles. Pick the style that you want as the border. Okay, this is a title. I'm going to do something a little fancier. So I'm going to do this one. And then I'm going to outline it in that cell that I have. So it shows now that it's outlined. I also want to make this bigger because it's the title. So I'm going to make it a little bigger and I'm going to add color to it. So color is up here on my quick menu, or color is also, excuse me, in format cells under fill. And what color do we want it? We'll make it blue. That looks nice, doesn't it? All right, now we're getting into our tables.
Sorry,
Yes.
when you said I'm going to make it bigger, you went to the font size.
I went to the font
Which
size,
is
yeah.
what I did, but then it just disappeared out of the cell.
Okay, so that means it's too big, right? Your font is too big
Right.
because it's disappeared. So
it's-
you might want to
you're-
make,
you have to make the row bigger.
you can
first.
make the row bigger or you can cut down the size of your font.
Sorry, how did you do the shading?
The shading is going into the cell
Yep.
and right click, format cells,
Okay.
and across the top, and it's in the tab of fill.
Oh, okay. Oh, there we go. Okay.
It's also here. This is your fill. The
That's
little
fill
paint,
too?
the little paint can.
Oh, the paint cans,
Yeah.
too?
Okay, now for the rest of the spreadsheet, I just want to do lines on the spreadsheet. So I'm going to put my cursor across all of them, all of the lines that I want a border around, then right click, go to format cells, go to border, and then I'm going to pick my border, and I'm going to say, okay, it's just going to be a black line, just a light black line. And it gives me, where do you want this line? Do you want it only on the outline? It says, do you want none? Do you want it only on the outline? Do you want it on the inside? So I'm going to say, okay, I want it on the outline and I want it on the inside. Now, perhaps you don't like those choices and you want to do your own lines. So we're going to unclick those two. None. And I'm just going to go and say, okay, I just want a line across the top. And then I say, no, I don't think that's right. So I click again and it takes the line away. Okay, I want a line on the left side, and I want a line on the right side, and I want a line in the middle, and that's all I want. So that's what it's going to do for me. So it's given me lines on there. If I say, sometimes you might want to have only on the top and bottom, and you don't really want to have anything on the sides. So you can customize it to really whatever you want to have. There's also another handy feature, which sometimes you use. It's kind of neat. And there's diagonal lines. So you see them right in the corners here, this diagonal line and this diagonal line. Sometimes, you know, you might want to say, okay, there isn't a value in this one, or I don't want any value in this one. So you can go to format cells to your border and say, okay, let's put a line through it. And then the line shows up there. Yeah.
So when you print this.
Yeah.
Does it still show the lines of the table, or is it just showing the lines you're putting in?
It's showing the lines you're putting in. So that was our next. It's like I've set you up with that question. Because that's what we're going to do next is file, print. And so now it's showing us what we're printing. So on my copy, I'm printing half of this sheet. That's not going to fly, right? Because I need to see the whole thing. It's saying this sheet that you have is now 3 pages. So I'm on page 2, I'm on page 3. That's not what I want. So how do I get this on one page? There's several ways I can do that, and they're all found in page layout.
In layout?
Yeah. Yeah. So in layout, you'll see margins. That's where you can adjust the margins of your page. You see orientation. So right now it's in portrait orientation. Well, it's quite wide. Perhaps if I put it to landscape, that will look a little bit better. So I can do that, and then I can go back to file and say print and look at my print preview again. Okay, it's still not quite what I want it to be. It's still not showing everything I want. So I can go to the layout again, and there is a page setup drop down in layout, and it has page, margins, header, footer, and sheet. On the page, this is where it says, okay, I want it to be portrait or I want it to be landscape. And then it says scaling, adjust to 100% of the normal size. So right now it's showing this as 100%. If I thought, well, let's see what 75% will do, I can change it to 75%. And then it says, here's your print preview. Down at the bottom, you can print this, print preview, other options. I can look at print preview. Okay, 75, nope, because down at the bottom, it's still telling me that there's still 2 pages. I'm still on 2 pages. I want to be on 1. So I'm going to go back to the page setup. Let's go back this way. I'm going to go back to that page setup, and I'm going to say, well, I don't know. I don't want to be doing this by 5%. It's going to take me too long. So how about if I just say, fit this to 1 page wide by 1 page high? You guys figure out what it should be. So I've clicked on there, fit to 1 page wide by 1 page tall. I'm hitting print preview, and it adjusted it for me. So now it's all fit on 1 page. Sometimes you'll have one of these big, long spreadsheets that has every piece of information on your client that you possibly could ever need. But you don't always want to print that information. You may want to print just a contact list. You may want to print an attendance sheet. If they've registered for a course, you have all their information on the spreadsheet. Let's just print part of the spreadsheet. Let's not print all of it. So I'm going to go to my next spreadsheet, which is a teacher list. So this is some of the people that teach for us at the conservatory. And let's say that we're having a meeting and I want to know who's going to come and who's going to show up, and we're going to do an attendance sheet so they can check in. So I don't want to print everything that's on this sheet. I'm just going to print their last name and their first name. So what I'll do is I will block what I want printed, the last name and the first name. And then in the page setup menu, I'm going to go to print area. So it says set the print area. So I've blocked those 2. I want to set the print area. When I now do a print preview, it's showing me just those 2. So I didn't print everything, I just printed those 2. If I want to clear the print area, I press clear. So the default is always, it'll print everything. If you want to print just a portion, then you're just going to block what you want to print. Right now, I cleared the print area, and now it should show me the entire sheet. Okay.
Do you know the print area? Print.
So the people
Okay.
online are saying
you have
they're
to do it
having trouble
first.
hearing the questions from the class.
Okay, so I'll repeat them maybe?
If you could, that
Okay.
would be
So you have to set the print area first.
I'll try to remember. If I don't, Carol will help me.
Okay, got it. Yeah, great.
Okay. So is there anything else about formatting a sheet in Excel that you'd like to know about? Have you seen something and wondered how did they get that to happen?
I'm still curious as to how you make sure that the actual lines, the
Yes.
regular, like the cell and row lines, show up.
Okay,
Because if I printed that, if I did what I just did, it would print without the lines.
Okay.
Right?
so the question was, how do I make sure that lines are showing up on my sheet? And so we're going to start again with go back to this format. And I'm just going to quickly get rid of every line that is on here. So right now we have no borders. If we go to print, there's no borders on here at all. That is always the default. The default will always be that you have no borders. So if you want to get borders on your sheet, you can do borders on one column or one cell, and you'll right click on the one cell, format cells, go to the border, and then you'll choose which lines you want on there. The easy way to do it, if you know you want all the lines, is to choose which line you're going to do. The default is always a thin black. And then you can say, okay, I want it on the outside and I want it on the inside. Oh, and this one doesn't have any inside because it's only one cell. So it's going to give you outside. If I want to do the rest of the sheet or these two lines, I'm going to right click, format cells, borders. It's giving me that line again as a default, outline and inline, inside. So that's what you want to do. If you want to customize that, that's when you can go into this menu and start clicking and unclicking where you want those lines to be. And now when I go to my print preview, the lines are showing up.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm getting a message that says font size must be between 1 and 409.
Could you what?
Is your font size too small?
Oh, maybe.
So if you change, yeah, or too big.
No, font size is
No,
14.
seems fine. I don't know. Just when I was trying to put the borders on, that's what was coming up.
I don't know. We'll check into that
Okay.
After and see if I can figure out what that is for.
So this might be this topic, but so once you've set this up, like let's say your music appreciation contact list, it wouldn't be exactly this, but you want that exact same format on the next 5 sheets that you make.
Oh, that's a really good question. I like that one. Okay, so I have it. This is my template.
Yeah.
Right? So what I can do is I can save this as our template.
Okay.
And then we can just copy it over to another new sheet. Now, I'm just going to open a new sheet here. Okay, so if I say, okay, I want this exact same format in the next one. And if we were doing Word or something like that, we just copy and paste it, right? That's what we do. So we can do that. We can copy And then we can go into our new book and say, okay, let's paste. Oh my goodness. Now we have to go from the beginning. We don't want to do that at all. So that's not going to work. What we're going to do is in the bottom, in the very bottom, you see that on my sheet, I've got a bunch of little tabs. So there you can have more than one spreadsheet in a workbook. The whole file is called the workbook. Each sheet is called a worksheet or a spreadsheet. So I can take this, if I right-click on the title of my tab, it says, oh, do you want to move or copy this one? Yes, that's exactly what I want to do. So I hit move or copy, and it says, where do you want to copy this to? Move or copy, move this selected sheet to book. The one that's in the default is the one that I'm in right now, but I want it in the new one. So I've opened book one, or so you may have an existing one already open, or I can say, okay, I want to make a new book. Okay. At the bottom, make sure you check if you're doing a copy, create a copy, or else it just moves this existing sheet over to that new sheet. So now I've clicked create a copy. I'm going to click OK. And now it's come up. If you look at, and it says, this is called book one. This is my new file, book one. Right? Or it's called book two. So I have the original one here. And then I have this new one that I made here. So you can copy it to a new book, or you can copy it to that same workbook. And you would do the exact same thing. Is you'd right click, move or copy, and I'm going to copy it to this same workbook that I'm in, and I'm just saying move it to the end, so put it behind this one, create a copy, okay, and now on my tabs I've got format, and then it gave me a copy of that format sheet, so I can update this sheet. Was that helpful?
I think so.
Do we want to do it once more? Do we want to copy it once more?
Create a copy. So I'm doing something that I'm copying actually with all the data in it. So I want to make sure I do that before I put the data in.
You can.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. Or else
deleted all that.
Or else, if you want to delete all the data that's in there, all you have to do is click, remember, on the top left corner, because that's going to block everything that's in there, and hit delete.
Right, but then it takes out the stuff I wanted to copy.
But so you should have saved, right?
Yeah,
you want to save your old sheet first before you transfer to the new. Okay? Don't save this one. Let's get on the right one again. Okay, so this contact list that we've made, we might want to do some things with that contact list. We might want to send something out to people on the list. And so we want to perhaps create labels. We could print labels from this list. We can sort and filter this list as well. And so the sorting would be, okay, I want to sort this by postal code, or I want to sort it alphabetically. And filtering would be, I only want to pick certain people on this list. I don't want to show anybody else on this list. So if you're going to do something like that, you might want to always keep your existing list and then do what we did to a new list, right? We're gonna move or copy it. So we're going to go to the tab, right click, move or copy, and I'm going to put a new list underneath my teacher list. I'm going to create a copy. So now I've got two here. One's called teacher list, one calls teacher list 2. I'm going to change the name of that teacher list 2 because I don't want to get mixed up and erase the wrong one, send it to the wrong one, which has happened before. And so we're going to right click there, and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to rename this. So this one is going to be, we're going to do, who do we have most of? Violin teachers on this one. Come on. So on this list, I want to find all the violin teachers. So I don't want to go through and find everyone and delete everybody else. So I can do that a couple of ways. One is by sorting, so that they go sort by discipline, and then I can just get rid of everybody I don't want. That would be going to where you want to sort, what you want to sort by, okay? Or taking, should we do the whole thing? Let's see. Well, let's say I want to sort by discipline. So I'm going to click on that column on the M at the top, and I'm going to go to the data menu. In the data menu, there are data tools. Sort and filter is the one we're going to use here. So on the discipline, we're going to click onto sort. So it just gave me a warning, and it said that we found some data next to your selection. So we want to know, do you want to just sort that column, or do you want the other information to go with the sort? If we just sort that column, we're just going to sort this stuff, and nobody's information is going to be carried with that. That's not going to work, right? We don't want to do that. So it says, do you want to expand the selection? Meaning, do you want to expand it to the whole, all of the information? Or do you want to continue with the current selection? So let's just see what happens in both cases. So we know that Don Anderson is music appreciation. That's his discipline. If we continue with the current selection and sort by discipline, Don Anderson is now teaching a cappella. So that's not right. So I'm going to reverse that. I'm going to undo that. And then I'm going to sort again. And I'm going to say, yes, expand the selection. I'm going to click on sort. And then it asks me, how do you want to sort? So I want to sort by discipline, right? That's what we said. We wanted to do discipline first. So we find discipline here in our drop-down menu, sorting A to Z with discipline. I've clicked on the top here. It says my data has headers. We wanted to know that the first row is a header row, so don't include that in the sort, right? If we unclick it, sometimes you may not have a title in that row. You may just have data in that row. So then it would say it now says column M. It's not saying what my title is. It's saying I want to sort by column M. But this data has a row of headers. So it's said, okay, those are the headers. Now you can pick how you want to sort. We can also add a level. So we might want to sort by discipline and then alphabetically. So let's sort by discipline. Across the top, it says add level. Click that, gives you another line. Okay, we're sorting first by discipline. We're now going to sort by, what should we do? Last name? Let's do last name. Okay, we can add another level, and we can sort by last name and perhaps postal code. So now it's taken all that information and it's sorted. So here's all my violin people down here. I can go through and I can delete each row one by one, but that's kind of a lot of work and I don't have time to do that. I've got a lot of other things to do. I just want to find the violin teachers. So I'm going to filter my list now. So I'm going to go to M again, but this time I'm going to go on the funnel, which says take all that data and funnel it down, filter it down to what I want to do. Filter. How come your filters don't work? Oh, okay. So it filtered by discipline here. Let's do that. So look at the header row here. Okay. Once I hit filter, you see that a drop down arrow comes. On that drop down arrow, it says, how do you want to filter? Do you want to select everybody? No. We want to find the people that are violin teachers. And here's one that's a viola and violin teacher. I want that one too. Okay, now it's just gotten rid of everybody else.
Does that just live on that form now?
That just lives on this form because we didn't do anything to this one.
Because the numbers are still staying at the same, like the row numbers are 25, 26, 27.
Right, so it's filtered it for you, but they're hidden, right? So you can, now you could print this list. You could use this to do your mail merge and data labels, and you can just use this portion of the list.
If you want to send that list to somebody.
Okay, so let's send
Just
that
that
list
list.
to somebody. We're going to right-click, move our copy. This one here, create a copy in a new book.
So you have to make a new book each time. You can't just send the sheet to somebody, like you have to.
Well, you could, but they're going to get all.
Yeah.
They're going to get everything that you did before, like every sheet that's in that workbook,
Right.
because you're sending the file, which is the entire
This
workbook,
book, yeah.
right?
Okay.
You may not
Done.
want to do
Yeah,
that,
I thought
right?
maybe you could just send the
You can
sheet.
also cut and paste into Word, and I'm going to show you how you can do that because that's really handy, especially if you've got these lists and you want to put them in a report or put them in a letter or something like that. So we're going to open Word, and we're going to go back to this here, and we're going to block all of this and copy, however you use copy, whether you right-click it or whatever. Then when you go into Word, you're going to go into the paste menu, and it says paste special. So paste special, I want to paste, you can pick how you paste this. I want to paste Microsoft Excel workshop object. So it's pasting it like a picture. It's not going to change any of the data. So if you go back and update that spreadsheet, it's not going to change any of the data. Okay. So I say that, yep, that's how I want it to be. And then, where's my data? That's weird. Okay, let's go to the other sheet.
I'm having trouble getting this sort.
And I could figure that out.
Did you get it?
Yep.
No. Mine's not giving me the option.
Copy,
It's gray.
paste special. It's asking for a 2003 workshop object.
Might get them out really tiny.
Oh, what are you doing?
There. Okay, now you see it's not right on the page, like it's going over the page. So I can format it the same way that I would format a picture, which is,
That's not the one you.
I just copied again because it wasn't showing up everything. So I did the exact same thing with a different block of information.
Oh yeah, you
Oh,
did
yeah.
do the violin.
Yeah, yeah.
You did everything.
Right, right. So I'm going to go to my picture menu, the size. Right now it's 9.8 inches wide, which is kind of big for an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. So I know it's got to be much smaller. I'm going to make it, let's say I'm going to make it 8 inches wide. Still too big. So I'm going to, and this is just formatting exactly how you would a picture. 7 inches. So now it's small. It'll fit on the page. Another handy thing you can do, and this is very handy for submitting grant applications or writing grant reports, is you can paste a link, which means that as soon as you update that spreadsheet, it updates it in the Word file. So how you do that is I still have my data here that was copied, and I'm going to copy this data again to my Word file. I'm going to go to paste special, but I'm going to say paste the link. So we're going to paste the link right there. It's too big again. Will it let me make it smaller? It should. So now I'm going to go back to that Excel spreadsheet and I'm going to change. Don Anderson is now going to teach music appreciation and connecting. I forgot to add that. So if I save that sheet and go to Word,
That's cool.
he's now been updated to music appreciation and connecting.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's a very good feature, but it also can get you into trouble too if you don't remember what version you were working with. Okay. Any questions on sorting and filtering?
Well, mine is not allowing me to sort or filter. Like the menu is in gray, so I don't know why that is.
Okay.
When I'm
So
selecting the column, there's
okay.
no.
Okay, so
No
what that
option.
means is that there's a restriction on your program that you can't use those. So you should be able to go into File and Options and find out how you could turn that back on. It's just a matter of turning it off or on.
Okay, like on some columns it's working, but on one it's not. So.
On one, it's not?
It's not working on column A or B,
Really?
but it's when I get to C, no D.
It works.
E.
Okay, well,
It
that's
was, and then it
interesting.
stopped.
So there must be a restriction of some kind on there.
We have a question from one of our
Yep.
Zoom people, and she says, can you show how to hide or unhide columns?
Absolutely, we can do that. Sometimes you might, and in this case, perhaps I did it because I had email addresses on this and phone numbers, and I didn't really think that people wanted me to share that with everyone here. So I hid those columns. So let's say I want to do a list that just has the person's last name, first name, no address, city, postal, province or postal code, or discipline. And this I do all the time because when I'm submitting something to Arts Branch, for example, they want to know who the musicians are that we are employing. So I would do that. So I want to hide columns D, E, F, and G. So you're going to go across the top where the columns are, and you can right click and it says hide. Right close to the bottom, it says hide. There, we've hid them. Now they're still on the sheet. That doesn't mean that if you share this sheet, people can unhide those columns and see that. Okay, so what this would be good for is if I wanted to cut and paste it into that Word document, I would cut and paste it as an object and not as the link, because I just want them to see this much. I don't want them to see everything that's there. So now I've hidden it. I've done what I needed to. I've copied and pasted. I want to get all the information back. So what you do is you go to the column, and we can tell that there's a bunch of letters of the alphabet missing here. So you go to the letter before and the column letter after, and you right click. You block those two, you right click, and you unhide. So now everything came up. I'm going to, for this purpose, hide these columns again.
Where is it?
All right, that's how you hide and unhide. So another handy thing that you can use these spreadsheet databases for is if you want to create labels or if you want to do a letter. So you have a list of people who've donated to you for the last few years. You'd like to contact them again. You'd like to reach out to them. Maybe you just want to send them a thank you. Maybe it's not a please send me money, but it's, thank you very much, we appreciate. or we want to invite you to a special event. So I happen to have a letter ask database here that we did to corporate donors. And these people had been, we'd reached out to them before about donating, so we thought, well, maybe we'll reach out to them again. Okay, so you can add, this can be your main list. You're adding your you know, deleting as they say, you know, please don't contact me again. So I'm going to take this list and I want to create a letter to them asking them to donate again. So I am going to now go to my letter. Why will it not? Oops. Too many, that's the story of my life. Way too many windows open. I'm always doing that. Okay, so I've written this letter and I've said, okay, dear so-and-so, we'd like to invite you to donate, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so you've made up your letter, you've got your template, you know what you want to do. So I did this one. Well, I don't want to have to go through here and update every address and update everybody's name and forget something, and then somebody gets a form letter, right, that was addressed to somebody else. So I want to update this to include everybody that I have on that donor list. How we're going to do that is we're going to go to the tab across the top that says mailings, and there is a start mail merge. So you go to the start mail merge drop down menu and you say, okay, I can't remember how to do this. I think I've done it a couple years ago, but I'm not sure. Let's go to the step-by-step mail merge wizard.
No, you're in Word right now, right?
Yeah, I'm in Word.
Oh, yeah.
I'm in Word. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have
Sorry.
three
So, yeah.
total different toppings here.
Okay. So in mail merge, there is a little menu on the right side here, and it's going to say, okay, what type of document are you working on? And I say, well,
Mail merge manager under tools, I think.
I'm working on a letter, okay? And it says, okay, so I'm going to check letter. If we were doing labels, we could check labels, we could do envelopes, we can do whatever we want. But right now we're going to do this letter. We're going to start the document. Sorry. At the bottom in the mail merge tab, there is step 1 of 6. It's giving me step-by-step instructions. If you can get to the step-by-step instructions, you can do the rest of it. And it says, okay, number 1, let's start the document. Okay, I'm starting it. It said, okay, who do you want to send this document to? Let's select who it is. And it says, use an existing list. You could select from your Outlook contacts, or you could type a new list. Well, we already have our list. Let's find it. Let's browse and find that list. So we know it's on the desktop. It's here, Creative Manitoba. It's in the Creative Manitoba Excel workshop list. And it says, okay, well, you got a lot of work. You got a lot of sheets there. Which sheet do you want to use? So I'm going to say, okay, I want to use the funding sources sheet and click OK. So now it says, okay, these are your funding sources. Here. This is the list that will be used for your merge. Is that good? Is that what you want? Nope. Because I picked the wrong list. Like there's numbers in here. That doesn't make any sense. So I say, nope, that's not what I want to do. I'm going to go back and pick those people again. I got to select a different list. So My list is called Letter Ask 2017. So now you see it's got the company name, it's got the address, it's got everything there. You can, when you're in here, you can say, okay, I know that Irwin Homes said they don't ever want to hear from us again. Okay, you remembered this. You should have taken it off your original list, but you didn't. But you can still do that now. So they've checked everybody who's in the list. If you want to uncheck anybody in the list, you can uncheck them in here. And then they won't produce their list or their letter. When we go in here, so right now it says, okay, now we've picked who we want to go to. It says next, write your letter. Okay, well, we wrote it already, but we have to tell it that we want to change this information that we have here for everybody on that list. So you're going to go to where you've got this person's first name, and we're going to say, okay, I want everybody's first name that's on that list. That's what I want. So you're going to go to more items, which is in this mail merge list, and you're going to pick the donor's first name. Insert it there. Okay? Now we're going to, for some reason you have to close this, which just drives me, I don't know why, but this one, we're going to go to more items again, and we're going to put their last name in here. Now remember that you have to space this just like you would the words, right? Okay, this is the company they work for, so I'm going to pick that company name. This is their address, so I'm now going to pick their address. Okay, well, we think they all live in Winnipeg, but we better make sure. So we're going to do more items again and put city, insert. I know for sure everybody's in Manitoba, so I don't need to change that one, but I do have to change their postal code. Insert, close. Now we're going to go to the rest of we want to customize the rest of the letter, and we want to say, okay, so it's not going to be to Mr. Delco every time. It's going to be to salutation and the donor's last name. So salutation, donor last name, insert. Got it twice. Now there's no space. I have to make sure I put a space in between these ones. All right, now we've made reference to their company in this letter as well. We want to make sure that we get the right company to the right person. And we're going to insert their company name here in the letter. All right, now, is there anything else? Is the rest of it okay? Okay, the rest of it, it looks fine. There, we haven't made reference to anybody's name or anything. It says, okay, now you've got it set up. Step 4 says preview your letters. Okay, it's showing us on the top here, it says this is recipient number 5. Okay, do you want to see any more? Yeah, I want to see. Does it look like it's okay? Yeah, everything's updated. I want to see what number 3 looks like, number 2, number 1, all the way through. You can go through and do that. You can still edit the recipient list. So if you say, okay, I have to do some edits, you can do that here as well. Now it says, next, step 5, complete the merge. Okay, it's complete. So now what's happened is we can print. Now, we still have time to check though. If we don't want to print 50 letters and find out that there's a mistake, it says edit your individual letters. So what it shows now is you can edit record at a time, you can edit them all, you can edit the first 10 letters, whatever you want, and it's now going to produce them all as a file. So we just went, if you look at my bottom, I now have page 1 of 34. So now all the letters are here. If I page down, I can see every letter. And you can do the same thing to set up envelopes. You can now print these letters as you would and then get them ready to go. You can print all the addresses on envelopes and get them ready to go as well. We're out of time already?
We need like a week.
No, we need an ongoing
I can't
session.
believe it. Does anyone have any questions about those things that we did?
No,
I wanted to get through so much more.
Yeah, we
it
need
goes by
another day.
fast.
We said another day.
I'm good if you guys are. And if you have any questions, you have my email addresses. Sometimes as you're working through this, email me a quick email and say, okay, I can't remember, I can't find this.
I guess my only question would be if you wanted more specific training with Excel relating to, say, formulas.
Yep.
Creating formulas across sheets within a file. How would you recommend going about that?
I mean, that's something that Carol, yeah, pardon? The question was if we want specific training on formulas, how to carry them over, those kind of things, how could we get that? And my answer would be that if Carol wanted to set up a webinar like that, I'd be happy to do that. Or I'm also happy to do some one-on-one training with people if you want. Sometimes it's easier to use the spreadsheets that you normally work with because you're used to that information. So I'm happy to do that if you will. We wanted to get together over a lunch hour or something like that. I'm happy. As I said, I love Excel. And the more I can learn, and there's things, I don't know everything by any stretch of the imagination, but the more you challenge me, then the more I can find out, you know, those kind of things. So I'd be happy to do that. Okay. Thank you very much.
More than I did before. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Two really important things that drive me crazy.
Okay,
I didn't
good.
know you had
That's
to put a border around something before you filled it. I keep trying to fill this damn stuff.
I wish we had time to do charts because I love them, but
I want to do the forms.
you want to do the forms?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we can do that. We could do that another time.
For Google Forms, we will learn that too.
So we have thank you. I wish it were longer, somebody said on the chat.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad that it was.
Do you have a quick trick for when you have email addresses in the columns? You know, you have an email address in a cell.
Yep.
And you want to copy it, but you
Yep.
don't want it to keep like jumping up as
Yep.
a piece of mail.
Absolutely.
That drives me crazy.
So is the webinar
yeah.
still there?
Okay, we'll check that first.
Upload the recording from this computer, so
Okay.
maybe just don't.
Okay.
Well, I don't know what to do here.
And then can we access these?
Cannot
webinars?
minimize Zoom and the recording. Did I stop
Okay.
the recording? Where is it? Oh, stop.